What's up? We are live with our 15th biweekly meeting. It is Memorial Day weekend, so it's just me and Gina's popped in from a Memorial Day event to say hi and might disappear. But I wanted to make sure we keep these meetings going. We didn't reschedule this one, it's still here. I was very confused. But thank you to Gina for the reminder. So, what's up? We're here, 15th meeting. I'm going to roll through this agenda, let everybody knows what's going on here in the last couple weeks. We will talk about some big changes that have happened in the UFCW, and then talk about some stuff going on with our contract and the general membership meeting. Some big stuff going on with wage theft out there. Everybody needs to check their contracts and their steps and get ourselves set up for the next meeting. Unfortunately, no real good news on the contract front, but we'll get to that. I mean, basically, everybody's in expired contract territory right now. And the companies, all of them, are dragging their feet. Stater Brothers down in Southern California just made the announcement that they're basically not going to move forward on negotiating at all right now, because they're gonna take what Safeway and Kroger, or Albertsons and Kroger, ultimately settle for. So that puts that at a halt. And the Southern California update was calling for the Kroger brothers and sisters to the Stater brothers and sisters to basically get ready to stand on the line with Safeway, with the Albertsons and Kroger people if they end up going on strike. So check out that update on groceryworkersrising.org and see what's going on with that. It's been really nice to have all these locals putting out updates and knowing that they're bargaining together, because that's it's me and Tony were talking about it the other day. It's like giving us like the whole picture, because everybody kind of like pitches it in their own way. So when you put all the updates together, I feel like you get the clearest kind of idea what's going on. So that's been really nice to see. Welcome back, Tony. I thought you'd given up, dude. Tony, it's so funny. Gina reminded me after you left. Yeah, dude, it was like it's Memorial Day weekend. That's when we were asking what the event was. It's so funny. I had no idea. It was a holiday weekend, obviously, duh. Anyways, these contracts, it's the delay is the game, basically. That's what's going on. They're just dragging their feet on it. They're not really. The companies don't seem very eager to put anything on the table that moves this thing forward substantially, and they're not willing to even address the big stuff until the little stuff's handled. So I think they're banking on the idea, what it feels like now, because they're very obviously aware of the fact that like everybody's working together and they've got all these contracts expired like at the same time. Like it's just everywhere, right? I think they must think that there's a chance that if this does pop off, that it gets shut down, maybe. And we get told that we can't go on strike because we're essential workers and we need to get back to work or get fired, like the air traffic controllers were by Ronald Reagan. It's almost like a dare on these companies' parts. Like, I dare you to do something like on that scale and see if it works. I don't know, because it doesn't seem very wise on their part to be coming up against us like this, and like literally like all of the locals that are in bargaining that are talking about it are coming out and saying the same thing. Like, they're not going to address staffing, they're not making substantial wage claims, and they're not giving us the information we need for scheduling specifically regarding staffing. So they're playing the same game across the country. So we'll see how it goes. And like Local 5 started talking about, and like we've been talking about on the shop floor, if there's things that you need to start doing to kind of prepare yourself to be ready for a potential strike, like basically at the very minimum, you should try to secure at least like a week's worth of wages, because we do have to wait 8 days before we can get paid. So start thinking about that right now, if that's something that you'd be willing to do. but it looks like we might be moving in a direction where the company's going to dare us to at least threaten that, and we'll have to be prepared for that when it comes. But we'll talk a little bit more about that a little later on. Right now, we got social media updates. It's been a pretty good week on social media side. Discord server's up 3 people. Hello, 3 new people in the Discord server. That's what's going on over here. There's a lot of conversations happening in the hall. Tony popped off on a bunch of retirement stuff, pension and 401k, which actually made its way onto the agenda because it's super important and super relevant, and I don't think it's something we talk about enough on a regular basis. But conversation happening in Discord. This is where you can get in touch with At What Cost on a 24/7 kind of basis, and it literally is that. Night crew people, morning people, day people are talking in here all the time. So come check it out. You can get the links. The links are in the agenda that's posted here. And also, I think another easy place to get the links is if you just search up At What Cost on YouTube and find us there. You can get to all the links off of that channel really easily, like to all the different social medias. So check that out. But right now we're up to 131. That's cool. Instagram gained 14 followers up to 104. Facebook up another 4 followers to 76. YouTube got 17. Thank you to everybody that recently has joined on the YouTube channel via a subscription. I was trying to go live the other day and just do like a live short video clip, and I couldn't because you have to have 50 people. And I'm hoping that it's something that we can do when we are meeting up in person, and like the stream that's been going to Facebook. I'm hoping we can set that up to go through the YouTube channel and then put that link in the Facebook page so people that aren't on the Facebook page can access it as well. And then maybe we can figure out what's going on with the audio. Not sure what's happening there, but again, sorry to the people that are watching it after the fact and are having a hard time hearing it. Apparently it's not that bad when it's live, but it is pretty quiet, and we've been trying to figure it out. We'll get it figured out. But we did get over 50, so I checked it out today, and the live stuff is all active. So when we're doing like live events, like in person out in places, we can stream that stuff to the channel and start sharing that with people as it's happening too. So another way like for us to get connected and try to bring the union to the members is by putting this content online and available for people who can't attend in person. Like say it's Memorial Day weekend and you're doing stuff. This still happens. You don't have to worry about stressing out about not being able to make it. Catch it when you can. It's available in a lot of different places. Conversations happening all around it. So that's kind of the value of, making it available on these formats. So think about that when you think about what kind of union you want to be a part of. TikTok's up 2 followers. They've regained the 2 followers they lost. Congratulations. No new content on the TikTok page. It's still just this one video, but cool. So that's the social media stuff. I like looking at the analytics. It's cool to see like how many people are checking out the channel and watching the stuff that we're putting online. So like in these meetings and stuff, like the more you participate, the more you add to the conversation, the more you do to generate like talk around the stuff that we bring up. I think the stronger it makes us and the better it makes us as a union. But real quick, just wanted to share with everybody, like since we started posting videos online, the 75 hours, almost 74.6 hours has been watched. So like people are looking at this stuff and seeing like what's going on. And I think that's something that we can be proud of as a group, as At What Cost. Like we're putting out what I would consider like educational and informational and definitely like solidarity building, like union content for people that want to participate in it, specifically for Local 8, but on an even broader scale, like other people in other unions have been looking at this stuff as ways to kind of bring the union to their members and their locals as well. So what you're doing and what you're building with At What Cost out there by participating in this is having a real impact. And I think that 75 hours is something to be proud of. So shout out to all of you for taking part in this and making it something that is worth engaging with. And that's cool. It's kind of cool to see all that kind of stuff. So anyways, that's what's going on there. And like I said, Instagram's up to 104. That's cool. I need to start like getting more involved in this. Is like I don't mess with like very many social media platforms. I keep trying to get on Facebook, but I keep getting banned. So I've been posting as my ghost on there through my wife's page. So if you see that, check it out. Shout out. That's me. Yeah, I probably shouldn't say that. She's gonna get banned. I don't know who that is that's posting there. Um, Anyways, rolling on. That's social media. If you have a social media page or a social media platform that you use that there isn't an at what cost uh, account for, and you'd like to make one, go right ahead. Just it's a good time to remind people that nobody owns this group. It's like a decentralized UFCW reform group that's looking to like help the union move into a more democratic, member-driven structure. And so that means that anybody that wants to do anything that aligns with that is more than welcome to. And I mean, I guess it aligns with that in that I guess if you did and it was like anti it, what can anybody do to stop you, right? Moving on, we've got the contract. We kind of talked about everything being expired up ahead, but just more specifically, we had negotiations apparently yesterday. We haven't got an update as of the last few minutes. I've been refreshing the pages to see if they were going to put something out before Memorial Day weekend, but I guess just like all of us, they're out doing their thing. So I'm hoping we get an update on Tuesday. Just, for anybody on staff that might be listening, like going into a holiday weekend, having negotiations on Thursday, I was kind of like hopeful that we were going to get an update on Friday, given that 1 day buffer to, get the information out to people. But having to wait through the holiday weekend kind of sucks. We don't know when the next negotiation dates are. We don't know what happened in the negotiations. I mean, the cynic in me, and I'm sure Tony would align with me on this one, is like, nothing happened in negotiations. So spoiler alert, like you're not missing out on much, but the communication at least puts my heart and mind at ease, and I can I can move on mentally to the next negotiation date and start, thinking about things like if I need to get a week's pay ready for a potential strike, that type of stuff. So no information coming out of our local 5, any of the bargaining locals up here about our most recent negotiation date on the 22nd. So as it stands, still an extension, still waiting to make any substantial move forward. As far as I can tell, the updates have been no substantial move forward at all. But here we stand. I think ULP strike votes are probably coming. The Southern California locals have announced already that they're going to have theirs in June. We have some Vaughn stores in Local 8 that are a part of that, but I don't think that our bargaining group, 648, 5, and 8, I don't think that we would be involved in those specifically. However, just a reminder that during the general membership meeting, John did say that we would most likely go into a ULP strike with Local 5 if they were to move forward with charges. His response to me when I asked that was most likely, so keep that in mind. And Local 5 did very specifically tell its membership to start preparing for a strike authorization vote. So just a reminder to everybody out there that we are the ones, the membership are the ones that authorize the strike. We ultimately do have that power. We have that power in our membership. I will tell you, those of you listening to this, that the participation rate is extremely low. So the most active members are the ones that are going to be the ones that are able to control this outcome. So if you have a strong opinion about this particular matter, like authorizing a strike, I highly recommend you get involved and start talking about your beliefs and why you believe them, because you're going to have to convince people to agree with you, because quite honestly, it's a low number. So just keep that in mind. Like that is the truth about what's going on in Local 8 right now, is the participation levels are not really there. So if you do feel strongly, it's on you to speak about that and why, if you are interested in influencing the outcome. So if you don't believe in strikes, or you don't think a ULP strike is a good idea, talk to your coworkers about why, share your opinions on that, but let them know that most importantly, when we have this strike authorization vote coming, that they go and that they participate. Like, if you want a democratic union, if you truly believe in a member-empowered and member-driven union, then what you want is full participation of the membership. That's like a variable that's very important, because you don't want small coalitions being able to control the outcome. For example, At What Cost has a very specific opinion about how we want unions to be structured. If you disagree with that, then it's time to get involved and start building that coalition of active union members. I personally don't care uh, how we get to 100% participation. I think that's the most important thing. I do personally believe that most members tend to align with the same things that we believe in terms of union democracy. So I'm excited to see participation, but ultimately, like, let's get out there and let's get the vote out there. We're hearing about 44 members controlling a strike authorization vote for our Save Mart siblings is, it's scary. That's a lot. That's a small group of people determining your fate, like your future, your outcome. So just a reminder there that these types of things, like strike authorization votes for ULPs, they do have significant outcomes and potential outcomes on your life. So it's incumbent on you to be there and participate. I do have some questions, but I know everybody's out there camping and stuff. Tony, you can answer in the chat and stuff, but if anybody feels like answering, they can. But I'm not going to wait too long for people to answer, just because I know there's other activities going on. But for those of you that are watching later, maybe on YouTube, and want to write down in the comments, or if you're seeing this on Facebook and you want to start a conversation in the chat regarding our contracts, like, I want to know how the company dragging its feet through these negotiations makes you feel as an employee. Does it make you feel proud to work for Safeway or for Kroger or King Super, any of these companies? For us, it's all Safeway up here. But do you feel proud to be a Safeway member during negotiations when you can, like, actively see your company working against you? It's something that I've been thinking about as I've been working through my day. And I take a lot of pride in my work and a lot of pride in the job that I do, and the workplace that I leave behind for my coworkers. But my personally, my company, like, loyalty, like, I'm going to make sure we're successful as we can be, is, like, it's dropping by the day. Like, I'm having a hard time mustering it myself, and I feel like that's on them for, like Gina said, like, not valuing us more, or feeling that we're not valued more. They pretend like they value us, but I don't feel like they do. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think about that. And if you do say something in the comments, just know, like on YouTube specifically, that I get notifications for that. Like, it's a chat, so it's kind of cool to be able to respond. Shout out Randy, I see you out there probably commenting on this. It's pretty sweet, so check that out. Anyways, moving on to the next part of this agenda, we have a new king. That's right. The UFCW has elected a new international president, and we've talked about it. We talked about it at the in-person meeting at Becca's Cafe. During our last meeting, we were very aware that this process was coming up. In fact, shout out to the essential workers for putting together a ton of content that helped educate the UFCW membership on the process of changing leadership, and actually held an open forum where we got to meet Todd Crosby, and he came and kind of announced his platform and his candidacy for 2028. That was super sweet. So it happened, basically. Mark Perone announced his retirement. When that happens, when it's not an election year, it triggers the appointment of a replacement. It's an interim international president until the election comes around, or they are the international president. But when the election comes around, that does still occur, and that's coming up in 2028. But historically, the incumbent, the person that got appointed during the changing of the guard, has always never had anybody run against them and just gets their seat confirmed. So that's what's expected to happen in 2028. But this time, there is obviously this coalition that you see happening with At What Cost, with Essential Workers for Democracy, with all of these locals, grocery workers rising, all the Southern locals, 3,000, trying to build up this movement and this idea that, like, an organizing union on the international level is even more of a benefit to the working people of the UFCW and would help us on even a grander scale. I think a really good like reflection of that would be the national contract that you see they just got. Tony's actually the one that brought it to my attention with the meatpacking plants, and that's the JBS plants. That's a national contract across the coast, covering 26,000 workers. That kind of leverage, like if you think about that, we've talked about that a lot, like coordinated national contracts, coast to coast. That would be huge for us as grocery workers against Albertsons, just a single contract. So that's what's potentially on the line. If we can get coordinated bargaining, if we can get organizing on an international level, then we can move towards that type of stuff. And so yeah, that didn't happen this time. Milton Jones got appointed. Milton Jones, lifelong grocery guy, UFCW, started as a courtesy clerk, went into the Navy, came back to work for Kroger, worked his way up through the pipeline of the UFCW into the international level, became the secretary treasurer, and then boom, became the international president. Shout out to him. I don't know anything about him. At the meeting, it was said that he's a friend of the locals, so he kind of lets the locals do their own thing, was the vibe that was presented to us, which I think all the locals want. That they want like that independence. They want the ability to like not be told what they have to do. And like I guess I agree with that on principle, right? I agree with that on principle. So we'll see how everything goes. It was kind of just barely mentioned at the general membership meeting, and it tried to kind of move past, but we ended up talking about it more, making them talk about it more. A question, again, regarding these kings, when what's going on with the leadership here. For people that are listening to this, it might be your first time hearing this. How do you feel about a lack of transparency and democracy in the way that our union selects its leadership? Do you feel that as a UFCW member, you should have a say in that process? I personally do. I'd be interested to hear what you think. If it's something that, if you trust the people that are on the establishment side or the staff side of the union to just self-select the successors, if you're cool with that. That might be a style that you're down with. There's an argument to be made that that you have a very busy life, you have a lot going on, and you don't want to have to pay attention to this stuff. You want your dues money to just let you sit back and have other people take care of that stuff for you. And that's a vibe. That's a model. That's the current model that we have. So I'm curious to hear if you think that your leadership in your union should be a democratic process, that you should vote for it. For example, in the operating engineers union, I talked to Darren, a member of the operating engineers, on an episode of Worker to Worker. And in that conversation, he talked about the elections that they have. They mail ballots to every member, just like we get for our congressional elections here in the United States. They mail ballots to all the members. The members fill out the ballots and they mail them back. And so they vote by mail, direct election for their leadership. That's one way to do it. Another way is to appoint via enclave. And I agree with that. Jenica, like when we ask for transparency, the pushback is like super hard. And, you can question that. That's something that you should be able to ask yourself is, why aren't they giving us visibility into the operations? Like Jake likes to say, like he wants to know how the sausage is made, and if he asks like, hey, show me, and it's like in theory it's like his sausage factory, and they're like, nah bro, you can't see, like you just got to assume there's like horse meat in there for sure. Like there's definitely like food safety laws are being broken, you know what I mean? And I tend to agree. If there's a lack of transparency, why? And for for those of you out there that might be watching this on YouTube, that's part of the reason that these meetings are on YouTube, is because there was a lot of accusations being made about what this was and what the purpose of this was and why we were doing it. And so making sure it was just out in the open and transparent for everybody to see was really important, because you can make your own decision. You can look and see. It's like, oh, I don't want to be a part of that radical craziness. That's, at least now you have the information, as opposed to just being told without being shown. And I think that's, for me personally, that's kind of an issue that I have with our current structure, is that it's a lot of like, tell me, don't show me. And in our attempt to be like, okay, if that's how you're going to do it, tell me this, tell me this, tell me this, or show me this, show me this, show me this. It's like, no. So it's very hard to find a way to participate under that model. So we'll see kind of how it goes. But we do have new leadership, and with that new leadership, we have a new potential direction. The expectation is 0 to minimal change, but there's a 2028 election coming, and Todd Crosby, who go to the Essential Workers YouTube and watch the candidate open forum for yourself. Listen, it's like, it's as if he did a town hall for his own campaign, because nobody else showed up, so he just was able to answer the questions and have the floor to himself. And so you can just go there and get his perspective, and maybe you agree with it, maybe you think Milton has a better perspective. That's the cool thing about this. Unfortunately, you don't get to vote, and I don't get to vote in 2028. Our delegates get to vote, and that's something that we're going to start talking about a lot more here and At What Cost, because we should demand that members get to be delegates at the 2028 convention. I'm pretty sure that they just send staff members from our local. We need to find that out. But making sure that we have people from our rank and file membership at the table for the 2028 convention that can speak on behalf of rank and file members is probably a pretty important goal of ours, I would say, that we could talk about some more. Moving on to the general membership meeting. It was very fast. It was another 15-minute meeting. Shout out to us, to At What Cost. We were able to get 12 people, I believe it was, total, counting new friend of the chat. What's up, dude? We just met Cookie Monster. He likes to be called, or he got called. He called himself Cookie Monster too. But what's up, Cookie Monster from Sacramento Store 190? It's good to have you on board. We got to meet up after meeting in an Essential Workers chat, so that was cool to get to make that connection at the general membership meeting. And, you know, another 15-minute meeting. They tried to get us out of there real quick. For example, mentioning the changing of the international president, you would think was a big deal. They just read a one-sentence line off of their agenda and then wrapped up the meeting. It took us kind of asking more questions about that to even turn that into a conversation that had anything worthwhile on it. So, you know, take that as you will. They talked a lot about the Rite closures. It sucks. That's a shitty thing that's going on. A lot of the stores are closing. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of people looking to buy up the actual retail locations. CVS has purchased a handful of the stores, but all the rest of the buyers that I've seen mentioned in like news articles and stuff have been buying like the pharmaceutical assets, basically like the prescription books, to take that piece of the business, which is basically the only piece of it that had any value remaining. So sad news for Rite Aid. There's a good chance they're closing. When we asked specifically about helping them get into Safeways, unfortunately, they didn't seem too interested in facilitating anything like that. The response was more along the lines of, if they leave now, they give up their severance package that they have guaranteed in their contract. So, which I get, honestly, I get that. And again, I guess to my point about trying to establish some sort of member democracy or member agency even, which is agency is just like your ability to have control over what you do. Put all the options out on the table, right? Like lay everything out there so people can see I leave early, but I can go to Safeway and take this position, but I don't get my severance package, or I wait, I get terminated, I get my severance package. Have all your options out there. I can go to this cannabis dispensary and start, potentially a career here, because you have all different people at all different stages in their career, all different stages of their life. Some people have probably worked full careers at Rite Aid that are close to retiring, that can ride that out and get their severance. Some people might have just got there 6 months ago, a year ago, and could hop over to a Safeway and start building there like sooner than later. Like, what's the point of like hanging on to the sinking ship if it, ultimately, like, I even just right there, I start like speaking on my own like personal, like what I would do, which is what everybody tends to do, which is why it's important that you just like put all these options out there and try to give the members as many options as you can that you think benefit, them the most, and then let them make the decision. It didn't seem like it was anything they were interested in facilitating, unfortunately, but hey, Rite Aid people, if you happen to catch this video somehow, some way, come by Safeways. Apparently they're hiring 24/7, and you have retail experience and you're in the UFCW. So, if we're really brothers and sisters, come on, staff, like, help us out here. Like, if we had solidarity, if we had local meetings where we were in a local hall physically with each other, I guarantee you we would have already formed like bonds and friendships that would have facilitated these transfers on their own. So I feel like some personal responsibility and account, and like kind of kick myself a little bit. Like, Tony and I have talked about it a lot, about like getting into Rite Aids and meeting some people like in Food Maxes and stores that we don't work in, and it's like there's just so much going on, dude, that if only we made hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this as our job, we could make it a little easier. But when this type of shit happens, dude, I can't help it. Like, I feel like we didn't get there fast enough. We're not working hard enough. We're not doing what we're supposed to. We like somehow like we dropped the ball. So just heads up, Rite Aid people out there, like, if come talk to some of us. If you hit us up on through any of these at what cost channels, like, if there's anything we can do to try to help you out. These companies like milking us through our livelihoods and then closing, bankrupting numerous times. Like, there's CEOs, there's shareholders, there's executives that made millions of dollars off of this company while it was dying, and you guys were all getting gaslit into thinking that there was some future there, and that's the piece of it that I'll never accept, right? Back to the meeting. There really wasn't. They talked a little bit about the contract. They did talk some trash about Safeway, which I'll say was cool. It was cool to hear them dogging on the company as far as like not really. What I came out of it, what I said was like, okay, so they're not willing to put that in type on the updates, like they're playing a little friendly PR on the typed updates. But in that room, I felt like they were a lot more honest, and they were a lot more direct about how the company's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's dragging its feet intentionally. It's playing this long game that they're not going to accept forever. That kind of stuff. So, like I said, I felt good about that. It definitely, this guy John that led the meeting, he was way more direct. I think everybody that went to the meeting can agree with that. There was a situation where Jenica asked for an update on the Zoom meetings, and he just like stone cold looked her in the eye and said, no. And that was it. It was like, we're not doing it, dude. And, I kind of like at the end when we were talking about it, I was like, man, that was brutal. And she was right. She said, I know she's camping, so I'm speaking for her, but preferred, like, just tell me straight up, like, what's up. Not harsh but honest, she said in the chat. Yeah, I would much rather you just tell me no so we can all move on with our lives than give me a bunch of excuses that I then go home and try to like work around and figure out and make work. At least just tell me you're not going to help us so we can make that a part of the platform. When you say you're not going to make the meetings available to your membership, it's like, okay, then we're running on this platform where we make the meetings available to the membership. Is that something that you think you would like? Then vote for Tony. Boom. We had 12 people. They had more people. The room was full. I think we're out of seats. I didn't see very many chairs left. We've tapped it out. They're gonna have to. I hope that one day we get the Sacramento Kings like arena, whatever that's called, because we're filling it up so much. But we're at least like needing the spillover space. The little room that's next to us is gonna have to be like turned on, because we're filling up this little classroom that they have these meetings in. And it some of the members that went to this meeting noticed like it seems like they bring more. There's more faces there that we don't recognize that aren't members every time, more and more. Still from the membership side though, come on guys, you got to get out there. You got to participate. It's tough. I know it's hard. I know it sucks not getting sleep. Both. For me, when I go, I get 3 hours of sleep before I have to get back to work. That next day sucks. I haven't fallen asleep on the drive home yet, but it's a risk every time. Carpooling helps with that. If you live in Sacramento and you're hearing this, there's thousands of you guys. Like we all went to this meeting, if 1,000 of us showed up, dude, it would be freaking insane. We got to get active. We got to participate. What are these meetings for? What's happening? That's the question that I have, which is, what do you think the purpose of the general membership meeting is? They hold 4 a year, okay? It's quarterly, the minimum based on our bylaws. Other locals hold monthly meetings. We hold quarterly. What is the point of the meeting? No members are attending. Since At What Cost has started showing up, we've had 5 members, 9 members, 12 members. That was our 3rd meeting. We took 12 members. We're coming stronger and with more members every time. They haven't brought a single member from what I would say outside of At What Cost. Nobody's been there that hasn't been at least associated or affiliated with our group. What is the point of those meetings? If you were the local president and no members were coming to your general membership meeting, would you consider that a success or an opportunity? And what would you do? If you consider it a success, then it's working. The plan is working. You would probably do nothing, right? Keep doing what you're doing. But if you think that there should be members at the general membership meeting, what would you do in between those meetings to get members to attend? That's my question to people listening to the general membership out there. Let's have a brainstorming session around this, because it's something that needs to be thought about a little more, in my opinion. Because we're going to come to the next general membership meeting, and if the trend continues, we're going to have 15 people there, and like we've talked about, we've grown in numbers every time, but the same people aren't coming every time. So if we had everybody that's been come, we'd be closer to 20. That is a good thing, in my opinion. So I would like to know, if from a staff level, if they think that that's a good thing, that more and more members are coming to the general membership meeting. And if so, then great. Here's what we're doing to make that happen. Can you help us? And if not, why?
No, it was the diamond nerd. He left.
Yes, meeting up at the local union office and having a meeting in the parking lot of the local union office is a good idea. We can do that. We can hold a meeting there and just meet up there. And if anybody has any questions, if it's on a Tuesday or a Thursday, they can walk right through the door and ask their questions. That's totally a possibility. I'm 100% down for it. I have an idea for parking lot meetings that I'm going to bring up down a little bit later on the agenda. It's going to be in Safeways and having to do with wage theft. But yes, I do think that physically showing up places is a very great way to kind of force yourself into the conversation. So I support it fully, 100%, and I will be there every time. Moving on to retirement. Tony brought this up in the chat today, and it's something that has been getting talked about a lot, because especially with Social Security potentially being under threat, the stability of Social Security being under threat, what that does is make people freak out about their future. And when they start looking into things like a 401k that's tied to the stock market and realize that that financial security can also disappear, it gets very scary. Unions used to guarantee pensions. It was a big part of the union negotiation process back in the day, was negotiating what the pension would be. And the pension is guaranteed payment. Defined benefit pension specifically is the guaranteed pension payment that the middle class of the industrial age, the factory worker age, the good old days where grandpas got to retire at 55 with a full pension, that was all negotiated through union contracts primarily, that guaranteed a specific amount of money being put away. It basically was, instead of giving it to workers in wages, it was held by the company and very carefully protected because it was guaranteed to be paid out as a specific amount, and that specific amount was part of the negotiation of the contract, so it was guaranteed contractually when that person retired, a monthly guaranteed pension payment. Now, companies hate that, obviously, because if they do things like mismanage the money, or the stock market or the markets that the money's invested in are in a bad place when people start drawing on their pensions, it has a negative impact on the company. Specifically, it might have to take portions of its profits and use those to beef up their pension to make sure that the pension stays secured, because they're contractually obligated to take care of those workers in exchange for the life of work that those workers provided and agreed to contractually when they made the deal to work there. Now, it's hard to keep in mind when you're making those types of deals that that's a payment that you don't get till the end of your life. So for young people, it's really easy to forget about retirement. Now, don't forget, anything that's good for the worker is under constant assault by these companies. So what has happened is we have lost the defined benefit pension and we have moved into defined contribution pension. Luckily for us, we have a union that has protected our defined contribution pension. And what that means is, instead of a defined benefit that we get paid out at the end of our retirement, it's a defined payment that the company pays in for every hour that we work, or however they contractually decide to pay into it. The guarantee isn't the pay out, the guarantee is the pay in, but at least you still have a pension. The problem is that because the payout is not guaranteed, those market fluctuations are still put on the worker. That's why your pension payment can fluctuate depending on what's going on in the world and what's going on in your pension account, because what's guaranteed is the contribution, not the benefit. Still better than nothing, but a defined benefit pension is the golden goose of what we should all get and have in supplement with Social Security for our guaranteed retirement as working people, especially if we put in a career's work with a company, for example, right? 401ks take that whole ball of risk and shift it entirely onto the worker. So now what happens is the corporation just pays into a 401k account. You can also pay into the 401k account. In fact, you're actually encouraged to, and the company will match into that 401k account up to a specific amount. The problem with that is that that's usually managed by a company like Fidelity. The risk of the markets are entirely on you as the person. So say you go to retire, but all the corporations in the world have given out horrible loans to people that can't pay them back, so the entire banking market has collapsed. Now it's time for you to retire. Your 401k account is down 40%. You have 40% less money than you did 8 months ago. Boo-hoo to you. Sorry, God's plan. That's the risk of the 401k. There's another layer on top of that, which is that most 401k plans are held in like financial companies like Fidelity, who charge fees, like annual fees that seem low, like $24 a year to manage your funds. But they also charge a percentage fee on your account annually. And those percentages, just like compound interest works in your favor when you're like investing for yourself. If you like take the interest payment that you get from an account and you put it back into that account, the next time that you gain interest, you will gain a higher amount because you've increased the amount in your account. The same thing happens with fees. The fees, it works in reverse, so those compound. And what ends up happening at the end is that if you'd have just managed that account yourself, you would actually have 60% more money than you end up with. And the company like Fidelity can make like $1 million off of your 401k just in management fees and percentage fees alone. So a horrible setup. We as workers need to like really think about what we deserve as working people on the backside of our careers. And I think it's a defined benefit pension plan. I'll take a defined contribution pension plan, but like Tony likes to remind us in the chat very often, the pension is something that we should like I would think that there's, if I were to guess on brother Tony's behalf, the pension is a strikeable offense for him. I don't think he'd be willing to give up the pension because he cares that much about it. I believe in it too. I would strike for the pension. We have to, think about whether this is an industry that we want to be a career or we want to just be a second job. And we kind of talked about it at the general membership meeting. I asked the question straight up, like if it is going to be a second job, then we need to start shifting what we provide the working people to accommodate it as a second job. But if it's going to be a career, we need to make sure that we protect the pension. And I'm interested in keeping it a career, so I'm willing to fight for the pension. But I would highly recommend that everybody kind of look into the difference between 401ks and pensions. Contribute to your 401k for sure, but do not take the company rhetoric. Do not let the union convince you. And I actually think that to our staff's credit, to UFCW Local 8 staff's credit, they hold the pension in high regard as well. That's something that they didn't seem willing to kind of sell us out on. So shout out to them for recognizing the importance of that. And question to everybody out there, comment if you hear this and you want to talk about it. And we spend a lot of time talking about our wages and how much more money we deserve in hourly pay. How important is a secured retirement payment through your pension? When you stop working, that's the only check you have aside from Social Security. How important is it that you know how much money that is? It's something that we all need to consider because it's basically your wage when you're not working. When you're done working, it's your non-working wage. So don't think about it as some future far off thing. It's the amount of money you're going to keep making when you're done working, just like your paycheck. So as important at least. And Gina says extremely. I think it's easy as you get older, and as I'm getting older, I'm experiencing it in myself live. It becomes more and more important as you get older, especially if you're not prepared. So advice to everybody out there that's at a young working age, start thinking about it now and preparing for it now. And if you're in a union, make it a primary point of primary proposal, something that you guys are willing to rally around, because in my opinion, these corporations, they owe us a secure pension in our retirement. It is not extreme. It is not a radical thing to ask for on the other side of your working life. And like I'm thinking of like brother Tony working night crew his whole life, throwing freight his whole life, throwing weight his whole life. He deserves a secure pension on the other side of the literal billions of dollars he's helping generate in value for this company. So pensions, super important. Shout out to the 26,000 JBS workers. The conversation that Tony started in the chat was around this contract that it's meat packing and food processing plants across the nation. JBS is a food processing and meat packing company. Dude, national contract covering 26,000 workers in all of their facilities the UFCW got. And a part of that was their first ever pension plan for all those workers. That's awesome. Super, super awesome. I even looked at the JBS website. it's cool when it's so funny when these companies like finally like get their union contracts or whatever. They put out these bulletins, these updates, and even on the JBS website, it's like glazing the awesome contract that they have. They get their sick leave, they get their retirement, they get their retroactive wage increases. It says that their like average wage now for meatpacking workers is $23 to $24 an hour, and you're talking about across the Midwest and the South in right to work states. Like that's where a lot of these plants are: Utah, Arizona, Nebraska, Illinois, Minnesota, Michigan, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Iowa. So not easy places to unionize and not easy places to secure what I would call really dignified wages at $24 an hour for the Midwest. So dude, shout out to the UFCW and everybody that made that happen there. That is a huge win for us. Like, this should be something that we're celebrating like all over the place, you know. And I want to call out attention to the national contract. I mentioned that at the top of this. That's what we're aiming for. That's the contract that covers everybody across the company. So that JBS contract applies to all JBS workers. It's not broken down local by local by local. That's the power. Think about that when they go to negotiate the next contract. They now have the leverage on the whole entire company. So good on them for getting that. All right, we got one more thing to cover, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Safeway wage theft, it's happening. It's actively happening. There's another person that's brought it to my attention that they're not getting their proper wage step. Shout out to shop steward Daryl from the Bernie store. He let us know in the chat today that he had 3 employees with incorrect pay get their pay all figured out and corrected. So this is absolutely happening. It's been recognized by labor relations. It's been recognized by IT support. They keep telling everybody to give them 2 months to wait for a solution. HR tells the employees to email labor relations, or labor relations does not reply to the email. So I think this is an organizing event that we can rally around. This is something that we can use to help educate members on their contract, let people know what cost is, and how we as like watchdogs have been a big part of catching a lot of this stuff and spreading it around and bringing it to light. And I think we can set up in parking lots of, say, like Safeway 1826, where we don't have a lot of presence in our group, and hang out in their parking lot all day. I'll be on vacation in a couple weeks. I'll be down to do it. Set up like a little outdoor gazebo hangout event, give out a bunch of information, help members look up their current pay steps on their phone, see where they're at with their hours, get in touch with IT, email labor relations. Caitlin from Essential Workers for Democracy is actually helping me with a flyer right now that has a QR code that you can scan. She's going to make one of those auto emails like the one we sent to our local president. It's just going to be set up to auto email NorCal Labor Relations and let them know that you're aware of the wage theft that's occurring on your hours and you'd like your pay corrected. Another thing that the members have been talking about is getting taxed 40% when they get their back pay, which is what happens when you get a gift tax or a bonus tax. So there's been conversation being had with those members who are emailing labor relations and saying, I don't want my paycheck taxed like it's a bonus. Don't take 40% of my back pay because you messed up on my wages. That's not what we're doing here. I think that's a way, accounting wise, and this is me speculating here, so just heads up, I'm not a lawyer. I think that's a way, accounting wise, for Safeway to get around financially having a paper trail that says they're paying like unpaid back wages or an incorrect pay error, because they also don't have to pay any of the financial penalties that if these employees were to just go straight to the state of California and report the wage theft, there's financial penalties every day that your pay is incorrect. And this could cost the company a ton of money. I think it's a class action lawsuit against the company. I talked to the essential workers about whether or not they thought that would be something worth legally pursuing. And in all honesty, they were like, yeah, you probably can. This is wage theft. That's going to take years to move through the courts. Why don't we just try to get as many people as much help as possible and get them in touch with whoever like this labor relations is, whatever the IT ticket is that you have to open. Why don't we just try to get as many people aware of the fact that this is an issue and get educated on it and get it reported as fast as possible, and just flood the lines with everybody demanding help. And then also, like, as a side benefit to at what cost, as a group, look at what we're doing, obviously, is out here helping people. So I think that's a good idea. I'm interested in hearing feedback from everybody else. If it's something that you want to participate in, please do. I'm thinking about like something like some kind of a fun event, almost even like bringing a barbecue and doing hot dogs or something out there for Safeway employees. So we'll talk some more about it. We've got a couple weeks to kind of plan it, but that's what I was thinking about, is organizing around this potential wage theft and bringing it to the attention of our coworkers, and at the same time, posting up in a Safeway parking lot and kind of making our presence known. We have a sick banner that Jenica and Gina have gotten that we need to use more on folding tables aggressively in front of stores that don't have at what cost homies actively participating. So question around that, and then we'll wrap this thing up. When a company is blatantly disrespecting its employees through the mismanagement of payroll, like it is right now, obviously trying to sweep things under the rug, how long do you expect the union to play nice with them regarding it? Because everything that I'm describing us doing is rank and file UFCW members taking matters into their own hands, because if you call the UFCW and if you call your rep and tell your rep about this, the response that they're getting is that NorCal is aware, they're doing an audit on all employees, and it should take about 2 months. So they're just regurgitating the same line that's being spit by labor relations. We're not waiting 2 months. First of all, it's been 2 months already for people who have started asking over 2 months ago. They're getting the same excuse as people who are asking today. 2 months. So not our problem, not the workers' problem. That's money that you're owed for hours you were worked in a contract that you signed. So my question is, how long should the union wait before it gets involved? And, maybe why isn't it involved already? Good questions to ask yourself. I'm hoping that as we move into these future meetings that are not on holiday weekends, when we've got some of the more of our membership involved in the hall, that we can start having some discussions around some of these agenda items like live. I think there's a lot of value in conversation. I'm more than happy to ramble and rant about all of the agenda stuff, like, forever, and share my ideas and opinions with anybody who wants to listen. But I don't think that I have all the answers, or I'm just one perspective. And so, like, when Tony mentions like getting an update from local 8 and getting an update from local 5 and getting an update from local 770, and then feeling like you got the complete picture, I think that kind of happens when we have conversations too. Like when you have my perspective and Tony adds his perspective, and then Jenica's sharing what she thinks, and I think you get a more complete idea, a more full idea, and you're able to kind of think about it. For one thing, it helps me think about it in new ways too. It's new ways for me to kind of see it too. So I'll be asking more questions. I'll be seeing more questions. It didn't get quiet for me. If it's quiet for you, sorry about that. I don't know what happened there, but hopefully it's not quiet. I see everything seems to be working okay. Oh, okay. But anyways, I think there's value in conversation. And to kind of speak on that, the essential workers that helped coordinate bargaining members from 770 and 7 and 3000, they've been flying around together and going to each other's bargaining sessions. So the companies are fully aware. But what's happening is, like, we secured language down in Southern California around not allowing subcontractors to work in our stores. Local 770 was able to secure that. And then when they went over to Local 7, they were able to share all the notes and all the information that they had used to get that secured in their contract. And now 7 is doing the same thing. The value in having these conversations and spreading this information is it gets it into the hands of more people who can then kind of run with it and do their own thing. And I think we need more of that. I think we need more people that are thinking about these kinds of things and having these kind of conversations. I want to give a shout out to Poet, who's been talking in the Safeway chat quite a bit in the Safeway contract channel. Shout out to you, man. You're going around your store and you're having conversations with people about things that are causing them to start thinking about their contract for the first time, probably, and that's super important. And then you're coming back to the chat and you're sharing what your coworkers are saying. That's kind of what I'm talking about. So I want to start having some more conversations like that. I want to start hearing and listening to what other people think about these kinds of things, and whether or not they agree or disagree. And if they disagree, like how I still want to help make sure that their voice and their opinion is a part of the conversation, and that they know where they can make that opinion heard. Because we are going to get to a point, and it's already at this point now, like I said, where we're going to the general membership meetings and we're the only members there. And if we start learning as members of At What Cost how to put up proposals and how to make votes and how to move things like our bylaws and amend things through Robert's rules and policy and parliamentary procedure, like within our meetings, like if we can force them to put things on to Zoom, for example, through a vote in our meetings, like we're going to start doing that. So like I said at the top, if you disagree, it's time to get involved now and start building that group and start showing up, so that we don't just dictate the outcome of this entire conversation because we're the only ones participating. Because that's the only way you're going to be able to stop us, is to get more people than us. And that's kind of the name of the game in democracy. And that's the exciting thing about it, right? So let's play the game. Shout out to all the locals that have been coordinating. It's awesome to see. I love seeing it up here in Local 8. I don't think the companies are prepared for the solidarity that we're bringing at them. It's coming hard and it's coming fast. Our next Discord meeting is going to be on June 6th, already hitting June at 9 p.m. We will have a conversation about this. I also was thinking about maybe moving these meetings to Thursdays and shifting the time forward an hour. But it's not a decision that I can make on my own. So I want to talk about whether or not Friday night is the best night for it, and if 9 p.m. is a little too late for everybody. But I want to make sure we kind of keep it like 8. I wouldn't want to go any earlier than 8 p.m. Just to try to make sure as many people can participate as possible. But like I said, if anybody wants to hold different meetings at different times, if I can be there, I will. But I know 9 p.m. on a Friday night, especially for a huge chunk of our working base, a huge generation, they're probably doing things tonight and other Friday nights that they would rather be doing than having a union meeting. So if we can make it a little more accessible to people that would participate if it was on a more boring night of the week, I'm willing to consider that. That's some feedback that was brought to my attention recently, so I thought I'd bring it up. But anyways, as of right now, we are scheduled for Friday, June 6th at 9 p.m. If you want to get reminders, hit interested in the Discord event tab. You'll get a reminder when we go live. The agenda drops in the chat the day of the meeting. If there's anything you want to add to the agenda, just add it. If there's anything you want to say at a meeting, just say it. And if you want to call a meeting, just call it. That's all we got. We got one vote for Thursdays. Okay, cool. So we'll talk about that some more, obviously. We'll get that all figured out. And as far as this recording, that's a wrap. We're going to close up and go off mic. Just a friendly reminder to those who made it this far, if you're ever afraid of your boss hearing, we do talk off mic. Have a good night. Thank you, everybody. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Shout out to all the workers out there grinding out the holidays in retail. We'll see you on the other side. Peace.